The recent recall of 2 million Cosori air fryers has folks asking, hey, if an appliance catches on fire in my house and burns the countertops, who do I call? My insurance company? Or do I call the company that's recalling the appliance?
On February 23rd, 2023, the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission issued a recall notice that most owners never heard about. The product was the Cosori air fryer. The size of the recall was 2 million units in the United States alone. The hazard listed on the official notice was this: a wire connection inside the machine can overheat, posing fire and burn hazards. By the time the recall was issued, the company had already received 205 reports of these machines catching fire, burning, melting, and smoking inside people's homes. 10 of those reports involved actual burn injuries. 23 involved property damage. 2 million units, 10 people burned. And most of the people who owned those air fryers had no idea until they looked it up. Now ask yourself, how does an appliance that does nothing but blow hot air manage to burn itself down inside someone's kitchen? And why does it keep happening to the same category of brands over and over again? In this investigation, we are going to go through the heating element problem that turns your air fryer into a liability, the thermal fuse issue that makes a cheap repair invisible to you by design, and the private label structure that means the brand name on the box is largely a fiction. We are going to name every brand on the blacklist and show you the only 3 purchases worth making with your money. If you have walked into a Best Buy or a Walmart recently, you might believe you are standing in front of a competitive marketplace. You see Ninja, Cosori, Chefman, Gourmia, Power XL, Instant Vortex, Bella, and NuWave. The names are different. The colors are different. The price tags run from $29 to $200. You assume these are independent companies competing to build the best product. That is an illusion. The majority of these brands are owned or licensed by a small cluster of holding companies. Sensio Inc., which now operates under the name Made by Gather, was founded in 2003 in New York and owns the Bella, Crux, and Brim brand names. Cosori is imported into the United States by a Texity Corporation of Anaheim, California. These are not engineering companies that have spent decades perfecting a heating coil. The product inside the box is not the point. The brand on the outside of the box is the only thing they paid to create. The first problem is the heating element. The core technology inside an air fryer has not changed since the first countertop convection oven. A coiled nichrome wire heats up. A fan blows that heat around a chamber. Your food cooks. That is the entire product. For decades, appliance manufacturers used a heating wire rated for tens of thousands of thermal cycles. Every time you turn the machine on, the wire expands. Every time you turn it off, it contracts. A properly gauged wire handles this indefinitely. The nichrome alloy is forgiving. The mass of the wire stores and releases heat gradually. But in the race to hit a sub-$40 retail price point, manufacturers switched to the thinnest wire gauge they could pass through safety certification. And when a thin wire develops a hot spot, which it will, because all wire does eventually, the results are catastrophic. The resistance concentrates. The heat concentrates. The wire reaches temperatures far beyond what the surrounding plastic housing was rated to survive. That is not a product failure. That is the product working exactly as the accountants designed it to. The brands most associated with this pattern are the private label units: Bella, owned by Made by Gather; Chefman, Gourmia, Power XL. These are marketing vehicles, not manufacturers with a history of building for longevity. The business model was always selling, not building. The second crime on the blacklist is the thermal fuse, and this one requires you to sit down. Inside every air fryer is a small safety device the size of a pencil eraser. It is a ceramic cylinder with 2 wire leads. Its job is to break the circuit if the machine overheats. In Nautz, a properly engineered appliance, this fuse is rated well above the normal operating temperature. It blows only in a genuine emergency. In a cheap air fryer, they install a fuse rated at or just above the normal operating temperature, not to save money, not by accident. When the undersized heating element develops hot spots and begins running hotter than it should, The thermal fuse blows, the machine stops. Permanently, the display goes dark, the fan stops. The unit appears completely dead. You assume it is broken beyond repair. You throw it away. You go back to Best Buy. But a replacement thermal fuse is a standard, inexpensive component available from any electronic supplier. The repair takes roughly 15 minutes for anyone who has held a screwdriver. The fuse rating is printed directly on the part. You order the match, solder 2 wire leads, and the machine runs again. Manufacturers have not made this repair impossible. The parts are standard and widely available. The consequence of a market built around replacement rather than repair is that the cheap fix remains invisible to nearly everyone who owns one of these machines. The third problem is the control board. Early air fryers used 2 mechanical dials, a timer, and a temperature knob. 2 components, 2 failure points. Replacement parts were inexpensive, and the repair required no specialized tools. Then came the smart air fryer, touch screens, Wi-Fi connectivity, Bluetooth pairing, app integration, custom cooking profiles synced to your phone. Consumers responded. The screens looked clean. The presets felt premium. Sales climbed. But they put a circuit board inside a machine that runs at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. In a high-quality unit, the thermal engineering accounts for the board's tolerances, airflow is routed deliberately, and solder joints are positioned away from heat concentrations. In a budget unit, the fan moves just enough air to pass the certification test. Solder joints crack. Capacitors fail. The touchscreen freezes, flickers, or registers phantom inputs. And then, on February 23, 2023, the Consumer Product Safety Commission announced the recall of approximately 2 million Cosori air fryers in the United States, plus an additional 250,000 in Canada and 21,000 in Mexico, due to fire and burn hazards linked to wire connections inside the machines. The units had been sold between June 2018 and December 2022 for between $70 and $130 at Best Buy, Target, Home Depot, and Amazon. Now we have to talk about the Wi-Fi air fryer separately, because this is the problem within the problem. Smart connected appliances run on firmware, software maintained by the company on a server. When the company decides the product line is no longer worth supporting, the firmware updates stop. The app loses compatibility with new phone operating systems. The smart features stop working one by one. You paid extra for features that the company can deactivate in an office building. Remember Belkin Wemo? Belkin launched its Wemo smart home line in 2011. For more than a decade, customers bought Wemo smart plugs, light switches, and connected kitchen accessories. In July 2025, Belkin announced that it would end support for most of its Wemo products effective January 31st, 2026. After that date, the Wemo app, remote access, and voice assistant integrations simply stopped working. Products released as recently as November 2023 were included in the shutdown list. A customer who bought a Wemo smart plug in late 2023 had it rendered non-functional roughly 26 months later. Remember Instant Brands? The parent company of the Instant Pot and the Instant Vortex air fryer line. According to a lawsuit filed by bankruptcy trustee Alan Halperin in November 2024, the private equity firm that owned Instant Brands, Cornell Capital, directed the company to take out a $450 million term loan in April 2021, the proceeds of which funded a $345 million dividend paid primarily to Cornell and its co-investors. Cornell Capital has stated that the lawsuit is baseless and without merit. Regardless of how the litigation resolves, Instant Brands filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in June 2023. The connected appliance features it had been selling as premium functionality became uncertain overnight. The appliance division was acquired by private equity firm Center Lane Partners in November 2023, and the company formally emerged from bankruptcy and rebranded as Instant Pot Brands in April 2024. Remember Insignia? In April 2022, Best Buy's in-house appliance brand was forced by the Consumer Product Safety Commission to recall approximately 635,000 air fryers in the United States due to fire and burn hazards from overheating. The smart appliance market has a graveyard. It is full of brands that sold you a cloud-dependent product and then stopped caring about it before the hardware wore out. Every single air fryer with a Wi-Fi chip is on a clock, not because the hardware will necessarily fail, because the company behind the software may stop supporting it before the hardware does. So, what do you actually buy? Option 1. Buy a Ninja. The Ninja air fryer line has maintained higher ratings from independent testing organizations compared to the private label brands on this list. Their mechanical and digital hybrid controls have an engineering advantage over pure touchscreen units. For long-term reliability, you will spend more. You are buying from a company with actual product investment behind it. Option 2. Buy a Breville. The Australian company builds to a standard closer to commercial kitchen equipment than consumer appliances. Their Smart Oven air fryer line has a documented track record that is not in the same conversation as the brands on this list. You will spend $250 to $350. You are buying an appliance measured in years, not months. Option 3. Buy the simplest machine on the floor. Find the unit with a dial timer and a dial temperature. Knob, no touchscreen, no app, no Wi-Fi. The Cuisinart TOA60 is one of the longest-running dial-based models on the market. Steel chassis, mechanical timer. It is not exciting. It does not have preset modes. It does not have a server that can be switched off. The fewer features it has, the fewer reasons it has to die. But before you buy anything, stop throwing away broken air fryers. Before the unit goes in the trash, open the back panel. Find the thermal fuse. It is a small ceramic cylinder connected by 2 wire leads, usually near the heating element housing. Read the rating printed on the component. Order the matching replacement from any electronics supplier. In the majority of cases, the machine will run again. Manufacturers have not made this repair impossible. They have simply not explained it, because the cheap fix is the enemy of the replacement sale. According to the NPD Group, 25.6 million air fryers were sold in the United States between January 2020 and December 2021. Alone, a 76% increase over the prior 2-year period. In a market that size, the repair conversation never starts. Bella, Chefman, Gourmet, Power XL, Cosori, New Wave, and every private label product on that shelf were not engineered to last a decade. They were engineered to appear compelling at the moment of purchase and fail just past the return window. This does not require a deliberate conspiracy. It requires the same short-term financial logic applied to every other appliance category before this one. Buy the Ninja. Buy the Breville. Buy the dial machine. Learn the fuse repair. And if you want to see exactly how this same dynamic destroyed the refrigerator, the washing machine, and the dishwasher in your kitchen, the next video is right here. Your kitchen is being turned into a subscription service. Cancel it.